Live from your trusted local news source, KCRG News starts now.
Good Saturday morning. It is December 27th here in the TV9 live stream. I'm First Alert Storm Team Meteorologist, and I'm joined by Connor.
Hi.
Joined by TV9's Connor Woodruff. We are looking at a very interesting weekend.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, there's lots of things happening this weekend, not only in the weather world, but you got to think lots of people travel for the holidays, one of the busiest travel periods of the entire year. Now those people are either on their way back home or traveling to even more festivities with the new year coming up. So lots of things to consider, especially when we're looking at the forecast.
Yes, definitely a lot to take in, and even this morning have a very active start to our forecast. We got some fog across eastern Iowa. When you were heading out the door this morning, did you encounter any of that?
Oh yeah, well we get up at Ghoul's hour, right? I mean, we're out real early, but even still, I thought, visibility is really low. I come in from Iowa City, so on 380 it was especially, just a low visibility. You really got to consider it. Thankfully, the other wanderers of the night I found were considerate, and they didn't have their high beams on or anything. But even still, for folks who are driving, if you're not paying attention, you could really quickly come up on the vehicle in front of you. It's really, really got to keep that in mind when you're driving. And I feel like this isn't the first incredibly foggy day we've had. In fact, I feel like since November we've had a lot of fog.
A lot of fog, and that just deals with the amount of moisture that we've had. So we've had a lot of melting snow recently, and warmer temperatures mean that we're closer to that dew point, and so that just allows for all that fog to just be able to be there. We did have a viewer this morning reply on our page that it was one of the worst fog days that they've seen recently. So as you're heading out the door, just keeping that in mind. We also are taking a live look at the visibilities across the viewing area. We're looking at a quarter-mile visibility in Cedar Rapids with about a half-a-mile visibility in Waterloo, quarter-mile in Dubuque. So 4 miles, though, in Prairie du Chien. That's really where that kind of caveat comes in, is places are going to see heavier fog, whereas others are going to see less fog. It's very highly dependent on where you are heading out.
Just make sure I'm reading that right. Charles City, Decorah, Washington, is that less than a mile?
Less than a mile. So
close to a quarter mile even, right?
Less than a quarter mile, too. So it's that kind of mix between potentially not being able to see yourself 10 feet in front of you to less than that quarter mile. So as you're heading out the door this morning, adding in that extra time, because again, like you had said, you need to have that braking room ahead of you and ahead of the car in front of you too. It's super important when fog is as dense as it is today. We do also have a dense fog advisory that is in effect through noon today. Just slow down, turn on those low beam headlights. Those brights are not helpful in this situation. If you have your brights on, that will actually blind other drivers and cause way more issues as you are heading out.
Can I put you on the spot and ask a quick meteorology question? So how come when we have these big foggy days like this, it's always overnight or in the early morning? Does it just burn away in the sunlight? What's the science or the story there?
So a lot of times at night we watch our temperatures fall, which means that we get closer to where that dew point temperature is. Dew point is really key in fog. That is the point at which moisture will start to condense, and that's why we get fog, is it's water condensing, and we get that visual of being able to see it. So when temperatures fall at night, we get closer to that dew point, and so that allows us to be able to see that fog then, because we're right at that point of moisture being able to condense.
Sure.
So
that satisfies my curiosity.
Yeah, I'm glad to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Of course, always happy to do a little weather education. I love my job. So looking at visibility over the next couple of hours, we're going to watch that improve a little bit as we head into the noon hour. We're heading towards an eighth of a mile potentially across the viewing area still through noon hour, but it's as we head into the afternoon, we're getting better and better visibility, especially as we head into about 3 o'clock is when we could likely see the best visibility. There is that little quarter of a mile on Cedar Rapids, but I think that's just Pinpoint Futurecast being a little hyper attentive to potentially how much fog we could see. Likely we will be at 8 miles or more visibility. But that doesn't stick around for long as we head until about 5 o'clock and then beyond.
Wow.
Watch that visibility decrease once more.
Shoot all the way down there.
Yes.
And is that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to be even less visibility than we had this morning.
Yes. We were seeing visibilities around a quarter of a mile this morning. So to see this eighth mile of visibilities across a large part of the TV9 viewing area would mean that we are seeing significant difference from potentially today. But forecasts can always change, and we can always look at potentially better and this is just an idea to give us that fog is likely to occur. Let's take a quick look at some of our DOT cameras across the viewing area. Waterloo, you can see a few areas with that fog, especially 380 at Evansdale Water Tower there. You can see that fog, but otherwise, also it's a huge travel weekend. Not a lot of traffic out on the roads.
Sure. Well, I wonder, just different plans, you know, or people frankly taking it easy. I didn't work Friday, but I could imagine coming back from having Christmas Day off and then, you know, working. I'd be exhausted.
Right. Yes.
So maybe they're taking it easy.
Maybe their plan is to travel tomorrow. We'll take a look at that travel forecast tomorrow here in a little bit, but Iowa City seeing a little bit of fog there too. Heard a few people say that 380 was pretty heavily fogged up, so just keeping that in mind, especially on highways, adding that time into your commute to give that distance between you and the car ahead of you. You're not trying to rush to your commute or rest to your destination, excuse me. But Dubuque also not looking too bad, and that's up towards our northeast area near the Mississippi too. They're not seeing as bad of fog near there right now. But Cedar Rapids, a few areas still seeing some denser fog.
Yeah.
But travel to a minimum. They do say, AAA always says to travel before 11 a.m. That's the best time to travel if you're trying to head home. After that, between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. is really when you're going to get the heaviest congestion of traffic. So kind of right in that happy medium place right now where we head into potentially some heavier traffic. We did talk a little bit about that forecast today. We look at cloudy skies today, and that continues even through your overnight hours. Maybe a little less cloud cover tonight, but really it's as we head into tonight and into tomorrow where we're going to see our next big impact on our travel and when we could start to see a lot more people trying to hit the roads, but more impact on those who could see that travel.
And I joked about this during our newscast for those who watched, but it is just an especially interesting 24 hours that we're going to be going into. And of course, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, we have things like, you know, like we have the rain, the fog, and then we have winds, you know, in the later part of the evening. I just think it's so interesting that we had this, I want to say, relatively calm last week.
Yes.
And then we're going into this just pretty, what I would consider a pretty wild Sunday.
Yes. I mean, we got that kind of interesting weather pattern. We at least got Christmas, which wasn't too bad for all those people who are trying to travel to places. So we got that as a good benefit. But as people now are trying to they got the day off on Friday because the Christmas time was so close to the weekend. Now we're trying to see that holiday impacts on it and holiday travel impacts. So still going to be seeing that. Pinpoint Futurecast as we continue through tonight. Continuing to see cloudy conditions, but it's as we head into the early morning hours of Sunday that we'll start to see the first impacts on the roadways. Looking at rain as we look at 4 a.m. on Saturday is when we're going to start to see it across our southern areas. And as we continue, seeing a few of those yellow spots pop up, that does mean we could see some heavier downpours in those areas, locally heavy rain. Could see potential for a small hail in there too embedded. And then maybe a few rumbles of thunder. All that, though, really to the far southeast of eastern Iowa. Likely, very few of us across the TV9 viewing area will be seeing it. More so Illinois and Missouri going to be seeing those more high impact.
And I think another interesting thing we spoke about this morning, and you kind of tease it here, it's that this is just one piece of a giant weather pie all over the country right now.
Yes.
We've got all sorts of storms, and on the West Coast especially, it looked really devastating for some of those communities.
Yes.
Really, just part of this. Is it part of one big system? Like I said, pardon me for being naive here, but I'm just curious about how this plays into that bigger weather picture.
Yeah, so California just got a huge atmospheric river, and so a lot of that moisture is now being able to track across the Rockies and into eastern Iowa. That's where a lot of this moisture is coming from. So yes, that is what they got a few days ago on Christmas that impacted a lot of them with major flooding issues and mudslides and caused a lot of issues for Christmas. Now we're getting all that moisture in terms of rain, and we'll look at this here in just a second, but snow as we look ahead towards Sunday night. But taking a look at Pinpoint Futurecast, continuing to see that rain through Sunday morning. Then the system comes along with a cold front. So where you see that purpley color, that is sleet, and that's because we're watching temperatures get closer to freezing level, and then they fall below freezing level where we see that snow cover. So that snow is going to continue to push in through the afternoon, into the evening hours as well, and then even in through the overnight hours. We'll continue to see a few snowflakes potentially into Monday morning, but a lot of us out of that snow cover and a lot of us on the dry side as we start to look at Monday morning. Taking a look at also that potential for snowfall accumulation. I think people are excited that it's officially winter now too, and are hopeful maybe that we'll start to get a little bit more snow on the ground after a not so white Christmas across most of the TV9 viewing area.
More snow than I thought. More snow than I thought.
Yes.
But still melting away, still muddy.
Yeah, no, you got those areas where the snowplows ended up piling it up, and that was about the only white Christmas that I saw here in
Good place
Cedar
for family
Rapids.
photos right there.
Yes, exactly. All the
McDonald's parking lot.
Yeah, the dirty snow. But we are seeing that potential for likely snow accumulation to our northeast, not here in the eastern Iowa area. Confidence is higher as we head further north for seeing more accumulating snowfall. So we do have a snowfall forecast out, traced to 2 inches across the majority of the TV9 viewing area, with 2 to 4 to the very, very north. But again, it's going to play into how much rain do we get and how much of that snow, when it hits the ground, immediately melts. Because we could see 2 inches of snow fall from the sky, but how much of that stays on the ground is going to be key into this as well. And then also that could create slick spots on roadways. Bridges, overpasses, on and off ramps always will freeze over the fastest. And with temperatures falling below freezing and then wet pavement potentially out there, untreated roads could be getting slick spots Sunday night and into early Monday morning. You had also mentioned wind with this, and that's a key component in this as well. Heading into Sunday morning, seeing those wind gusts, not too bad, but it's Sunday evening and into Sunday night where those wind gusts get up to 40 miles per hour, potentially up to 50 miles per hour in some parts.
Yeah.
That's when the snow is falling too. So could create blowing snow, whiteout conditions. And that's really the key component with this, is we could see those conditions just be blowing snow even through Monday morning, continuing into the later hours of Monday, early afternoon hours, before those winds finally calm down. We'll keep an eye on how much snow actually falls out of the system, because that will play a key part in this, of how much of that snow actually does blow around the area and what that could cause for travel impacts. Yeah.
I feel like this could especially need to be mindful of perhaps the Monday morning commute, right? You know, with the overnight snow and the winds, especially. We have so many people traveling right now. Perhaps if they're traveling through the, you know, if they're staying at their destination through New Year's Eve, then perhaps they don't have to worry about this at all. But I feel like, especially when you're on, like, the, you know, 380, the S curve, like it can get slick there. And something just, once again, I just feel like, you know, we're all kind of in holiday mode. The blur between Christmas and New Year's. I think it's just got to be careful when you're on.
That's the point of this whole forecast, is really just make sure that people are aware that there's this potential for some impacts as they head out on the roadways. The National Weather Service has also issued a winter weather watch in Chickasaw County. They also have Winneshiek and Allamakee counties in the TV9 viewing area underneath a winter weather advisory. Now you might be questioning why the two difference. Well, winter weather watch, they have issued the winter weather watch in Chickasaw because of potential for whiteout blizzard-like conditions. That doesn't mean that because there's no winter weather watch across the rest of the TV9 viewing area that we couldn't see parts of whiteout conditions there as well, but they just expect it highly there. That it is likely that they could see this where models are currently trending. Looking at Allamakee and Winneshiek counties, and winter weather advisory for those slick spots as well as fast freezing on roadways is really what they're concerned about there. But that reduced visibility and a few slick spots out on the roadways. But we did talk a little bit about that national look at weather. Let's just take a quick look at national. If you're maybe not heading on the roadways today, you're trying to hit the airport today. O'Hare, 30-minute delay across the airport is like a major delay. But otherwise, Cedar Rapids, Moline, Midway, not seeing any major delays. Always we bring in the caveat of check in with your individual flights. This is just an airport-wide delay that we're seeing. Denver, Dallas, St. Louis, Des Moines, not seeing any major delays there either. With Atlanta, Detroit, Minneapolis, Charlotte, also not seeing any major delays.
There's old Santa stranded at the airport.
Stranded at the airport. He thankfully didn't have any major issues here in Eastern Iowa getting all those Christmas presents, but maybe he's trying to hit his holiday with Mrs. Claus. Might be having a little bit of some issues if he's heading out tomorrow.
Well, to put a little Connor's PSA, Connor's soapbox. So, when I traveled for around Thanksgiving, and I had a pretty difficult time getting back because some fog delays and such.
Yeah.
Seriously, I know we always say in our holiday stories, please download your airline's app when you're traveling. They give you the best and most up-to-date updates when it comes to traveling. Seriously, it was a lifesaver when I had a really, really tight connection on the way back to Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, I'm sure, and that's a lot of people's plans. Either they are trying to head home to where they were for Christmas plans, or maybe they're trying to get to their New Year's destinations now at this point. So kind of in that middle of holidays time, keeping that in the area. But we did also mention that there was some national issues going on. You take a look at western parts of the U.S. They got snow still, rain still through this afternoon. But that starts to dissipate all that moisture, again, heading towards eastern Iowa throughout the overnight hours and into tomorrow. That's where we're going to start to see it and impacting us. But we're also not the only ones receiving rain. Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, into Pennsylvania, into West Virginia and Virginia as well, seeing that rain. And then this system also spreads further south. So that hits into Missouri, into Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Vermont. Like, it's all of these New England areas and into south really see this wide band of rain and then snow in Wisconsin and Iowa, as well as Minnesota through the tomorrow night.
Interesting to see when I'm from West Virginia, right? Interesting to see a storm, the same storm that hits us, hitting the folks back home too.
Yeah.
I think once again, just talking to the national aspect of these weather events that we're seeing, I think what was that on earlier in the newscast? The folks in New York are seeing some kind of record-breaking conditions there as well.
Right.
So
yeah, and that's all ahead of their New Year's Eve celebration that they always have in New York City. So we'll be keeping an eye on that forecast. You can tune in tomorrow, and now we'll be looking at that New York City ball drop forecast.
Excellent.
As well as what we can expect here in eastern Iowa for some New Year's forecasts. Also, the ReliaQuest Bowl is happening in Tampa. Iowa football is down there, so take a look at, if you're maybe not so excited about the colder temperatures to come this week, we'll look at some warmer temperatures that Tampa is seeing tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, I mean, of course, stuff to look forward to for everybody who's traveling. Because I always forget, because I'm not a sports guy, how crazy this kind of post-Christmas period is for folks for the football world, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, so many bowl games happen Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, or the day after New Year's, so January 2nd. Lots of football happening for college. It's their wrap-up season. And then NFL starts to take over, and we start to head into post-season and all the playoff games. So huge time as we head into football, with plenty of other sports also starting up their seasons now that it is wintertime here.
Excellent. Well, a lot to keep track of, I'm sure.
Exactly, yes. And if you want always the latest updates and latest forecasts, you can download the free KCRG Weather app or the free KCRG News app. You can also get the latest forecast on kcrg.com/weather. Otherwise, you can join us tomorrow again at the 6 a.m. newscast, 8 a.m. newscast, or we'll be right back here at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Great.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.